Welcome. Welcome in the name of Christ. God's grace, love, and peace surround you. Welcome to our service of worship for Sunday, July the 4th, 2021. We're delighted that you're joining us in this virtual way with us here at Westside United Church in Pence. Wherever you are, we invite you to unite your spirit with ours as we create this one unified, sacred, and blessed community of faith for this time of worship. Thank you for joining us in this virtual way and creating a community of faith that reaches beyond the four walls of our structure here, beyond our building and into our community, and stretching into places across this country of ours and around the world. So welcome to worship this day. The Spirit in me greets the Spirit in you. As we gather in this space and upon this land, we recognize that we inhabit the ancestral land of the Mi'kmaq people, and it is with respect and gratitude that we are honored to worship, to celebrate, and to live on their sacred land. As we prepare ourselves to move together as one into this time of worship and reflection today, I invite us to take a moment just to center ourselves, to be aware of our breaths, the breaths we take in and the breaths we exhale, and to find ourselves stilling our hearts and our minds to allow a space for the Spirit to enter, the presence of God to enter, and to remind us about our fellowship and our desire to be the followers of Jesus in the world today. As we take this moment in silence, I will light a light to celebrate the presence of God in our midst, the blessings of the Spirit, and to remind ourselves that we are the light of Christ in the world today. This is God's place. There is no entry fees, no dress code, no age or height restrictions. There's no exclusion zone. This is a place where we can settle in and feel at home. Here, we find shelter. Here, we are family. We are friends. We are home. This is God's place, and we are welcome to gather and let the grace of God fill our hearts. Let us worship within this welcoming embrace of God today. Let us join our hearts together in prayer. Come, O God, sit amongst us as we sit amongst you. Amongst you, your Spirit, and your friend. For we are open and we are present to hearing your word and being influenced by your teachings. We gather as your people. We gather as friends. We gather as the followers of Jesus. Amen. A couple of days ago, we, across this country of Canada, observed Canada Day, marking the 154th year since the event we call Confederation. Last year, the celebrations of Canada Day were extremely muted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This year was another year in which the celebrations that we had become so used to and accustomed to across our country and within our province and within our communities was once again muted, kept quiet, stilled. But it was for a different reason than the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada Day celebrations took on a different meaning this year. Part of it is because we've been attentive to the needs and the wishes of our Indigenous brothers and sisters across this country. I found myself struggling as approaching Canada Day, July 1st, 2021, and how to recognize it, how to observe it. I found myself at a crossroads. I truly do think Canada is a wonderful country. We live in a beautiful space, from the west coast all the way to the east coast and all points in between, and the coasts that take us up into the northern, closer to the Arctic Circle. We live in such a beautiful and a diverse country. And the people of our country are a multitude of diversities. Diversities in age and ethnic backgrounds. We are no longer a country of white settlers. Settlers who came to this country and infiltrated themselves into the lives of the people who called this home for thousands of years. We entered into our observance of Canada Day this year with the full acknowledgement of the events that have been happening in relation to residential schools. And we have observed in the past month an anniversary date of the Truth and Reconciliation Report. As people of God, as people of faith, we've been attentive also to our calling as a church, as the churches that have been involved in the Truth and Reconciliation Report and the ramifications of what is being coming out of that report in the last 5 years. We acknowledge our role, our part in the creation of that trauma, of a horrific portion of our Canadian history since prior to Confederation and since Confederation. This past week on Canada Day was a time for us to reflect, to become aware of our past, that it is part of our story. And then we have to look and see how we can move forward, how we can hold on to the recommendations and live out the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Report, but also how we as a church, as a community, and as a country can move forward through the steps of reconciliation and gently towards healing. As I was thinking about this journey that we are upon as a country with our Indigenous sisters and brothers, with them as the people of Canada today, and as the church of today that has a legacy from yesterday, I thought about the story of Scripture that we find in the book of Deuteronomy. This portion of the story in the book of Deuteronomy is a story that is often heard on our celebration of Thanksgiving, the time when we gather annually to hold up and to celebrate the blessings of our life. This story from the book of Deuteronomy was a story from the people of Israel, and how that on their day of Thanksgiving, they were inspired to remember where they've been, to give thanks where they are to God, and to move forward, holding on to all that has been behind. This is the story from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26. When you have come into the land that your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess, and you possess it and settle in it, you shall take some of the fruits of all the fruit of the ground, the first fruits, from which you have harvested from the land, and you shall put it in a basket and go to the place that God will choose as a dwelling. You shall then go to the priest who is in the office at the time and say to him, "Today I declare to you and to God that I've come into the land that God has sworn to our ancestors to give to us. when the priest takes the basket from your hand and sets it down before the altar of your God, you shall make this response. A wandering Aramean was my ancestor. He went down into Egypt and lived there as an alien, few in number, and there he became a great nation, mighty and populous. When the Egyptians treated us harshly and afflicted us by imposing hard labor on us, we cried to the God of our ancestors, who heard our voice and saw our affliction, our toil, and our oppression. God brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and with terrifying displays of power and with signs and wonders, and brought us into this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So now I bring the first of the fruits of the ground that you, O God, have given me. You shall set your offering down before your God, and then you, together with the Levites and the aliens who reside among you, shall inherit and celebrate with all the bounty that your God has given to you and to your house. These words that were given to the people of Israel to remind them about where they've been as a people and what they've all come through was a reminder to them to give thanks for where they are and to be mindful of the past. I think as the people of God, as the people of the United Church of Canada, as the people of Canada, we have become, and we need to become, very aware of where we have been. And the land upon which we have settled and live and created the first fruits of our labors and the continual fruits of our labors have been something that we have been blessed with. But we also have to acknowledge the pain and the suffering and the turmoil and the trauma that we have inflicted and take responsibility for the pain, the suffering, and the trauma. We can give thanks to God for the blessings and the fruits and the labors of our hands and our hearts. But who have we inflicted upon to get the blessings that we have received? As we look at Canada Day 2021 over our shoulder, we need to look forward. We need to look back to where we've been, acknowledge our past, whether or not we were involved in it, but it's part of our past. We need to hold on to that and move forward to find ways in which we can be the avenues of healing, of hope, of restoration, so that our Indigenous sisters and brothers who call this place we call Canada their home, how we can make them feel at home, feel whole, feel like they are, like we hope we all are, Canadians, people of the land, people of the beautiful sky, the majestic mountains, the wondrous prairies, the great lakes, the water, the people. May we next year, at Canada Day 2022, look back over the 365 days behind us and are able to say, we have done something good in our country. We have helped to restore right relations. We've invigorated the spirit of life back into the people for whom we have voided the spirit of life. Restored community. Restored wholeness. Restored all country that we call Canada. Together, we can do it. Together, with God's grace and love and the blessing of the Spirit upon us, we can move towards healing through truth and reconciliation. Let us pray. For the blessings of community, O God, we give thanks. For we recognize that community comes in all kinds of shapes and forms and names and identities. That communities come with stories of joy and trauma and celebration and turmoil. But that is who we are. And we claim today our stories. The stories that we have participated in that have not been good stories, but they've been painful stories. Stories of death, genocide, harm, desolation. Help us, O God, to be an open people. People who are open with hearts and minds and spirits. To acknowledge the ways in which we can, as much as we've caused harm, can now be transformed into people who bring hope and inspire healing. We continue to hold in our hearts our Indigenous sisters and brothers of this wonderful land, from the northmost coasts of waters to the waters on the Pacific West and those on the Atlantic East. We hold in our hearts those who continue to live with the realities of residential schools, whether their own experiences or those that have been transferred to them by a previous generation. And how that the confirmation of unmarked graves, of unrecorded names, inspires old wounds to be reopened, and old stories risen from hearts that need to be lifted into the ears of all of us, into our ears and into our hearts, to help us to become aware of our legacy and the truth. As we continue to journey through these days, when the number of confirmed bodies are being found increases, help us to take moments to pause, to grieve, to mourn, and to offer support. The journey ahead is not going to be easy, but the journey behind us hasn't been easy for many as well. So we would find all of us find the courage and strength we need as the people of Canada to move forward. We offer these prayers to you. We offer them with hope. We offer them with sincerity. We offer them with conviction to you, O God, Great Spirit, wonderful Creator, source of life and love, our Mother, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So today for our service, as you can see, I have an orange piece of cloth on our communion table to remind us about that every child matters. If you have a piece of orange cloth yourself, put it in a prominent place in your home, hang a piece outside of your door, let the world know. Let our sisters and brothers of our indigenous countries and people across the world country know that we are in solidarity with them and that every child matters. As we gather in this time of worship and reflection, I'd like to share with you a few announcements of our life and our work beyond this time of worship that happens from between the Sunday and the Sunday. So next Sunday, July the 11th, we have a cold salad plate supper. I guess it's a salad plate supper. It's going to be cold. That is scheduled for next Sunday. Pickup is between 3 and 5 in the afternoon. The tickets are $15 each. And we hope that you can place your order by Thursday, July the 8th. You can phone me at 688-1580, or you can phone Bonnie at 688-2177. In the coming couple of weeks, we have several of our committees and groups all meeting. And so we know we have a meeting of a session on Monday morning. The Board of Stewards is a little bit later into the month, and we're planning a date for a meeting of the official board. As we gather today, we hold in our hearts the family and the friends of another one of our longtime serving organists within this pastoral charge. Brenda Weigel of West Dublin died last Sunday here at the hospital in Bridgewater. She served as the organist at West Dublin United Church for many years until the congregation amalgamated with Westside in 2012. We are thankful for the gifts that she shared with us as the organist, and it was always a joy and it was always a pleasure to share in times of worship and times of community and family celebrations with Brenda, and to spend time with her in the entire time that I've been in ministry here with this pastoral charge. We surround her family, we surround her circle of friends with our love and our support, and we give thanks this day with gratitude for the life and the gifts of life that Brenda shared in our midst. A graveside service for Brenda will be held later this summer in West Dublin. In the midst of our sorrows, our griefs, and our losses, we also celebrate milestones of life. This past day, on July 1st, we were thrilled to be able to wish Robert Hahn of West LaHave our love and best wishes on the occasion of his 90th birthday. We not only celebrate his birthday, but we honor him for his gifts of dedication to the church and to our community, and his gift of humor and his multitude of ways that he was always enthusiastic to share his talents with us in many and many ways. So happy birthday, Robert. Our love and our best wishes to you. We want to thank you for uniting your heart and your spirit with ours once again in this time of worship. We express gratitude for those who continue to gift us with your financial gifts and your talents that ensure that we can remain and can maintain our ministry as part of your day-to-day lives within our community and around the world. So thank you. As we prepare to move forward, holding on to all that we've seen, all that we've heard, all that we've reflected on within our hearts, we pause just for a moment to prepare ourselves to move forward, to prepare ourselves to see the light of Christ, the warm blessing of the Spirit in our midst, and the beacon of God shining before us. Hold on to that light as we take this moment in silence. This is our light to carry in our hearts and to share with others, illuminating the world and the paths we walk upon with the glowing presence of God's love, hope, and peace